Metamorphosis, word, sound and power, music, drumming, current affairs, everything to grow and lift up your mind. Metamorphosis.
No more youths and youths for sale. We get wise and don't decide to change them style. Bobby wrong, keep your empty promises and your crooked smile. Metamorphosis, come with your thoughts, change your way of thinking. Metamorphosis, the change begins with you.
Black men apartheid, black men of Ethiopia, Timbuktu, Alexandria gave the light of civilization to this world. Ethiopia shall stretch forth our hands unto God, and princes shall come out of it.
Guide I, it's the voice that sets me free. Guide I.
Good evening, Iman Blak.
Good evening.
This is Pauline from St. Mary. Calling to big you up on your program. I am a disciple. I've been there since almost the inception.
Guide I, it's the voice that sets me free.
I just you me tune into because, you know, me always even watch some other television and stuff, and that I have to see for later. I have to really listen to you first, you know what I mean?
How my one God one machikum bakhna Africa da fa bakhna kida panya kida farafet one machiki bunjul kida fa bunjul one yande kesawai kida fa bunjul one machiki bunjul kida fa bunjul dafnen rafet yom wentamenda ingama getting dafnen rafet yom wentamenda ingara dafnen rafet yom wentamenda ingara did you know that's a richer Africa did you know that's a richer Africa, did you know? Said the whole world love it, did you know? Said the whole world love it. Be proud of your culture. Be proud of that what you got. Be proud.
Jambo, vipi, karibuni katika kipindi cha Doc Iman Blak. Kipindi chaitwa Metamorphosis. Jifundishe, elimika na mwelimike.
What men want and what they will, working for a dollar bill. Sad to see the old slave mills grinding slow but grinding still. Walking home, a youth gets killed. Police free to shoot at will. Sad to see the old slave mill grinding slow but grinding still. 9 to 5, you know the drill. Weekends are a short-lived thrill. Sad to see the old slave mill grinding slow but grinding still. Cover on it over till it spill. Take until they've had their fill. Sure hurts to see the old slave mill grinding slow but grinding still.
We terrorize by soldiers and police. When they think them a strong man, they think them a dead. From them a play cowboy and Indian and chief. From the first to the third straight up to 7th street. One thing in our mind of it jump with the base. I make it in a life I inherit to me. Them pay off, self-employed, cannot get lay off. But the world me have, can't even get a day off. Who they want to stop me now, them find out, say them way off. Alright, so me say one by one. One by one, we stepping out of Babylon, and then one by one. You king fella say I the conquering lion. Rockstar was my pillow. Rockstar was my pillow. I said Rockstar was my pillow.
Sizzla Kalonji.
Help us now, take us from the slum. Never give up, matter what, strictly for your bun. Hey, Rasta, take us from the slum. Never give up, matter what, King Selassie, I bless. Separation is a thing, could be no harder time. Got to widen your views, gotta broaden your mind. What we find in they can't know where rest and no find. Hunger, poverty, a system so unkind. As a matter of
Cause ground was my bed and my pillow was a rock. Trying to make it through the system, all the doors were locked. Yeah, nothing me to try and so I ain't gonna stop. All the time they write a book on you. All sorts of other crap they would have put on you. Yet when you're in there, they would look on you. They would only stand and wanna wear the foot on you. But so see I know, Zion down, Ethiopia, Africa fashion. Liberate the poor. Hey, man I lie to me, so I see I them off war. I read the Bible, turn to peace and praise the Lord. Goodbye, Babylon, goodbye, goodbye. Open now, Zion door, Mount Zion, Ethiopia for sure. Children of Israel, children of Israel. Hey, Rockstar was my pillow. Rockstar was my pillow. I said, Rockstar was my pillow. Rockstone was my pillow. Give me now. Jam on me cool and stop and I do. Mama the trip me up on for fool. I remember the dance they make on my tool. If I'm not table sitting on the stool, me block, me brown, me brown, me black. Bitch on my chest, me smile in my back. Me till the ear when you dream drop. Alien to your body, I rock. For me from the mic, see Molly a chat. Berman song to the on the land. The peace with righteous of some man. Brother correction in Iman. Preaching out to man and no man.
Away from Africa with the intention to steal our culture. The good father passed by and said, humble yourself, my children. Humble yourself, my little one. Humble yourself. Oh, my brother,
Metamorphosis. 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 Well, it done. It done. 64 games. 32 nations. 1 world champion. It done. It done. Forward into reality. Cause it done. Joggers worn off. Reality resetting in. World Cup done.
where is your love, Jamaica?
And so today marks the beginning
Where is your love, Jamaica?
of a new cycle in the world of FIFA. FIFA's world begins again. World Cup done. Cassidy said not done. Where there? End of the month they done. Alright. It's not done. But there's a champion. Many Africans representing Europe in the World Cup. so many Africans. Examination time. Tenastilin, Eli, greetings. Rastafari live. Next week is July 23rd, the most important day in the life of the Rastafari. But 1 week prior, we are here reviewing the end of 1 month of spectacle. Spectacle has now come to a close. And it's only justified that Iman make a few comments on the overall tournament and move on to the things that are pressing, that are facing African people in the immediate, that are facing Jamaican people immediately. Entertainment has its place. Entertainment relieves stress. Entertainment provides pleasure. But in this world of competition, entertainment is not the all in all. Because even within the scope of entertainment and competition, we see that there's a deep desire for a winner. And the winner now becomes a very important factor and feature in all things in the Western world. The winner. Who is the winner? So we know that 1 month ago, 32 nations gathered in Russia, and their objective was to compete and to struggle and to demonstrate all the things that are required within the domain of FIFA to win a football match. And people think that these were what they call games. But games are not so separate from reality when everybody agree to the suspension of reality to facilitate the games. Thus the games take on a new reality, a different reality. And this reality now is governed by laws and governors and men. And what we just observe is the power of some men who control an organization called FIFA, FIFA. It was founded by the French in 1904. And so this World Cup that has been won by the French, in the minds of the French, it has come home. The English were trying to claim this World Cup and that their victory would have brought the cup home, but the cup does not belong in England. England holds responsibility for organizing the modern game, but they are not responsible for developing the idea of FIFA or the World Cup. So there's no historical home in England for the World Cup. And the one time England held the World Cup, it robbed it. They robbed the West Germans. At that time, there was no VAR. Yes, so it's from them times the argument has been battering around. And that is from in the 60s about these decisions that are being made by men, and oftentimes by men with their own bias and prejudices. In 2018 now, we have seen the introduction of what is called VAR. And I'm saying to the IDM now that the VAR is supposed to be the symbolic substitution for the referee. In other words, now, previously referees were considered to be the gods. It was in their opinion that everything rested. It was all about in the opinion of the referee, according to FIFA's laws. And FIFA has now invented a new monster. This machine now moves the power from the referee at the playfield to a referee sitting in a machine miles and miles away from the venue. And it's inside these decisions that racism still exists, and bias and prejudice, because the machines don't make any decisions. The machines just simply present pictures and positions. But it's men, just like the man with the referee with the whistle, it's men making these decisions. And there is bias in the VAR. But critically now, about the tournament. So the French team proved to be the champions, going through the tournament undefeated. The losing team, the Croatians, coming from what they call the position of a dark horse, coming from Eastern Europe, where the club football is not at the level as Western Europe. And in this clash, from my perspective, it was a veteran, experienced, nationalistic team versus a very fluent and flamboyant and artistic French team. It was a clash of cultures. And from my started in watching the tournament, I had declared 5 teams to get to the top 4. 2 of those 5 teams got there, and they played each other. That was France and Belgium. And the French got to the finals. I didn't carry them at the final as much as I carried them to get to the top 4, because I began to observe the difference in the Croatian play. From a Croatian perspective, I think the final started out with Croatian football establishing itself as a dominant football. When you score an own goal on yourself, when you score an own goal, because you have own goal is on yourself. When you score an own goal, it can be extremely defeating. And we see teams like in the first round go out scoring on themselves. But this Croatian team is not a little boy team. And not only did they score on themselves, they were able to equalize and began to boss the game. And then suddenly the VAR intervened. And I was saying to my brethren, the striker from France, Giroud, his most effective contribution to the team was protesting that penalty. Because he has played the entire tournament and don't score 1 goal. And he was a striker. But his most significant play was running down the referee to protest, to look at the VAR. And that VAR look gave France a penalty, gave them a 2-1 lead, and literally mash up the Croatian side. But congratulations to the French, because at the end of the game, next year, nobody will remember the specifics of the game. They will ask you who won the 2018 World Cup, and you're going to say France. Now, if you look into the French team, the most revealing thing is that the French team is black in its general texture. And when I say black, I mean it's African. And the African teams that came to the World Cup were so heavily criticized by all of these Jamaican and British commentators. Criticized at the level of mentality, because the attitude towards Africans is that we are always weak in mentality. We are physically strong, but mentally weak. And this argument has been running for the longest time against black man, this concept of mentality and lack of discipline and don't only want to pay for money and all sort of the negative denigrating arguments. And we hear our own people hug it up. And they say it even stronger than the Europeans. But at the same time, the French team is bathing with Africans. So where is the indiscipline now? Why is it we're not saying that these African players in the French team are indisciplined? Why is it that these African players playing for France can win the World Cup? And why do we argue that the African players playing for Africa lacking this and lacking that? Well, it's true. What they're lacking is not mentality. What is lacking is resources. So we have a lot of people who love to jump on the wagon of criticizing black people and saying the worst things, thinking that white people will think that they are of a better position when you can denigrate your own kind. It kind of burned me, you know. It burned me how the Jamaican analysts them ridicule African football. When the Africans make an error in the final minutes, them say lack of discipline. When the Germans do it, them say the Germans slip up. Right? The Germans concede 2 goals in 2 minutes. And it was a slip up. Senegal surrender a goal in the final minute, and it's because the Senegalese lack discipline. So you see it? We're so quick to condemn and fight our own kind. And so quick to glorify the alien. That now, this World Cup has shown that there's nothing wrong with African players' mentality. The Belgians are using African players. The Germans are using them. As a matter of fact, European teams in general, if they don't have the black man in it, that's the team don't have the rhythm. But if you look at Eastern European teams, they're a little bit different, because Eastern European teams and the Eastern European countries, historically were not a part of the invasion of Africa. They were not part of the colonizing forces that ripped black people out of Africa and changed them name the way the French and the Belgians and the English and those other colonizing forces did it. So it's one thing to call the Croatians white people, which they are, but them separate themselves from Western Europeans by not being a part of the colonizing force that entered Africa and brutalized black people up to this day. So I want them look at the French team different. I wonder if France now as a country would have be more merciful to places like Haiti and these other African countries that they have them paying taxes to France after France pillage and rape these countries. So allegiance is great. Everybody have allegiance to teams for different reasons. Some because of the club players, some because of how the players look, some all different kind of reasons, because people have a right to choose and relate to what they want to. But there is a deeper reality beyond the entertainment. And we have to look at our African identity and how is it we are being abused or used or even confused. So Infantino, the president of FIFA, Putin, the president of Russia, them money paid is billions upon billions of dollars. You know, say one morning I get up and I see Visa in my brain. I wonder how I just had to see Visa, and then when I turn on the TV, I realize that for 64 matches, I'm on to see Visa. The billboards surround the play field that I want to know if I must go and get a Visa, or whether I must take a Visa card. What should I do about Visa? In other words now, all of you who watch these tournaments, you have been bombarded with commercials that you don't even notice. Subliminal seduction. And watch your behavior now in the next few days. Look what you might go out and start buying. Look what you might begin to start to purchase because of these commercials. So, Jamaica now. I have to mention Jamaica relative to Croatia. Because I keep saying that 20 years ago, Jamaica and Croatia were knocking shoulders at the World Cup. First time entrance. So were the Japanese. And 20 years later, the Croatians return as finalists. The Japanese return as group of 16. Argentina do the normal, who want to examine where Jamaica is and what has Jamaica done for the last 20 years. While Croatia was moving towards the final, where was Jamaica moving? The Japanese have moved from 1998 that they have now overthrown South American team for the first time, and we're on the brink of getting into the quarterfinals. Where is the Jamaican program? This requires an inquiry. Just like how the politicians like to find money to open up these inquiries, we need an inquiry over the last 20 years in Jamaican football. We need an examination as to why did Jamaica make Bora escape. Bora came to Jamaica under the Cranston Boxfield administration. This is a man who took 5 different teams to the World Cup. And the Jamaican football fraternity rallied against Bora and rallied against Box Hill. And they never done until they run with Box Hill and run with Bora just to get Borrell back into the seat. And with Borrell into the seat, we went back into nostalgia. Borrell has died. 20 years later, Jamaican football is on its deathbed. Where will the solution come from? Is it possible to able to get onto that great stage? It's very unlikely because of the mentality of the people who govern football in Jamaica. This is where mentality becomes a problem, right here in Jamaica. We see Raheem Sterling representing England, and Raheem Sterling escaped the travesty of Jamaican football and find himself on the World Cup stage. Leon Bailey is on the cusp of finding himself at the World Cup stage, perhaps the next World Cup, but it won't be for the reggae boys necessarily, because these reggae boys now have become boys because the culture has dropped off. There's no more reggae in our team. The culture has disappeared, and we have more vultures now into the football, but they're trying to dig out and to scrape and to gather and to get what they can for themselves. So we'll see 1 month of football at the highest level. And we see 6 continents show up for the tournament. And we see 1 continent left at the final 4. We see Africa go home. We see South America go home. Asia, CONCACAF. The only continent that's up in the final 4 is Europe. It means that the football at its highest level now is playing by the Europeans. It's the first time no South American team has made it to the top 4. So South American football also needs some revision. And if Jamaica has been following South American football, and South American football is faltering, then we need to look somewhere else. And where I think we should look is where people build football without first world resources. In other words, now, Jamaica get trapped into the Brazilian methods of playing. But the Brazilian methods of coaching have not advanced any country around the world. The Brazilian methods of coaching advanced Brazilian teams and Brazilian players inside Brazil. I want somebody to call me and tell me 2 Brazilian coaches who coach outside of Brazil who are world class. Name me 2 Brazilian coaches who coach in the European leagues, any country in Europe. Name me a great Brazilian coach who coach another South American team. There are none. Brazil does not produce coaches. Simawes come as a coach and do a thing, and we are under the illusion that Brazilian coaches are the best. They are only good inside Brazil. Brazilian coaches struggle outside of Brazil because they don't have the Brazilian infrastructure, the carpets and the well-conditioned players, etc., etc. A place like Jamaica now needs to stop looking into South America. And we need to look into Europe, and not just anywhere in Europe. Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe. Poland, Croatia, Serbia. The places where the coaches produce high-quality teams without the first-class resources. We need coaches that can manage where there are scarce resources and produce high-class teams. We also must pay attention to Senegal. Because Senegal was not rated by the media, but Senegal, in my opinion, produced the best football out of all the African nations. Senegal also came with the only black man coach at the World Cup, Aliou Cissé. And perhaps that is a model that not only Africa should follow, but the Caribbean, where we get our football to the level where we have our own national coach in the team. But Cissé is an international player who has played World Cup before for Senegal, played in the European leagues, and has that insight? Who in Jamaica has that background to coach a Jamaican team to the international standards? Who? So, if we want to talk about getting to the World Cup again, the first thing we need to do is get the infrastructure. We need an overseas coach, and I'm saying Eastern Europe. And we don't need an overseas national coach. We need an overseas coach at our Olympic level to get the footballs spread downwards with a certain amount of style and international stature. So people now can return to their normal lives. The women can get back their men because the men were captured by the TV. And it's very unfortunate that a woman really can't just give her man a 2 or 3 weeks to do him a door. It's like said she think the world going done and she must have attention. You can't, woman can't have attention 24/7. To behave in herself and allow man to live. Let man be man. Everybody needs space, and football is a 4-week tournament. It's all over now. Some people suffering from withdrawals. There are people who have not recovered from Brazil's defeat. Some people don't get past Argentina yet. Some people don't get past Germany. But I'm going to say one more thing and move on about Brazil. Jamaica has always been a great supporter of Brazilian football from 1958, from the inception of Pelé. When Pelé retired in 1970 to 74, Brazil was no longer the best team in the world. So Jamaicans now refuse to recognize that and continue to still follow Brazil. Brazil had to undergo its own changes to catch up to the rest of the world. And they did that by sending their players to play in the Italian league and in the other European leagues. And the first thing they tried to learn to play was defense, because Brazilian football had no concept of defense. Well, last World Cup, Brazil get 7 from Germany and get 3 from Holland in the semifinals. This time around, 4 years later, them lose 2-1 to Belgium. So it's a great improvement from the 7 to the 2-1. But it's obvious that the Brazilian football is not there yet. It's not there yet. It still needs more matured players, particularly in the front of the team. I need more matured players right through and through. But they are in progression, and they have redeemed themselves tremendously from that embarrassment of 2014. The Belgians proved a little bit too much from them, but then the Belgians also ran out of steam. Overall, the World Cup has demonstrated what I call parity, where nearly all the nations now have caught up, primarily because nearly every nation have a player or two playing in the European leagues. And it will seem as if you do having the players there, your team do have a chance. It's unfortunate, but that's the way international football is. So we're going to see what's happening. The next one is 2022 in Qatar, and they're contemplating opening it up to 48 teams. It matters not, because my concern is about Jamaica now. Jamaica now will switch into schoolboy football, and they will switch into club football, and we'll continue our merry way. Coaches beating at them chests, talking formations. Everybody now will begin to put them expertise to work. Players are excited, and let us see if anything rubs off from that World Cup on Jamaica in terms of leadership. Is there any bold move that will be made to advance the chances of Jamaica qualifying, not for the next World Cup, but for the next Olympics? Metamorphosis.
And I mind to go through the same thing like I and I forbearance, no cheerings, no cheerings, no cheerings. Cry blood Africa, cry blood. Cry Africa, cry. Free up Africa.
Yes, Metamorphosis here. Dr. Iman Blak, your host. Greeting all ones and ones, first time listeners, long time listeners, people who are here, near, far. Give thanks for the occasion. Yeah, just sort of wrapping up the what I call post World Cup analysis. Yes, because remember, 64 matches, a lot of games that 2-3 games a day. Karl Marx said that sports is like an opium to the masses. It's like a drug. But guess what happened now? The drug, the fix done. Yes. And so that's why a lot of persons now are experiencing withdrawal symptoms. Because I can get hooked on a thing and the thing just done. People don't know what to do with themselves. But you see, the real world is here. It has always been here because the world of sport is a suspension of reality. Now we have the reality again to face us. And in this reality now, it's driven by economics, military might, psychological forces, politics. And we have to grapple with these things again. So we get a little 4-month reprieve. And in that 4 months, and I just sort of observe how do Africans benefit from that 4 week of entertainment? What is the benefit to black people? And in the answer to those kind of questions, one of the benefits we look at initially and first is financial. Are there any financial benefits now to black people now over this last month? Those who have been entrepreneurial in their attitudes have created money around the events. People putting up screens and selling things and flags and getting involved in the economics of FIFA. They made some money. But oftentimes, the African people, the black people, we ignore the financials of entertainment and get caught up in the spectacle. So, the money side of football makes the football not just entertainment or business, it makes the football an industry. And I try to explain to ones and ones what it is to have an industry. Well, think about agriculture. Agriculture is not a business. Agriculture is an industry. Think about tourism. Tourism is not just a business. Tourism is an industry. Well, football is not just a game. Our business. It is an industry. And football is an industry in Europe. It is an industry in South America, and it's becoming an industry in Asia. Sports is an industry in Oceania, particularly in New Zealand and Australia. So the industrialization of football, which is really part of the title of my doctoral thesis, the industrialization of football, the industrialization of culture. And within culture now, sport is an aspect of culture. And a specific game within the dimension of sports is football. Football is an industry. It is not viewed that way in Jamaica. It's hardly viewed that way in the Caribbean because of the nature of the society, these colonial societies. It's the same issue in Africa. Football is not an industry in Africa. So in other words, now, because of the lack of industrialization in Africa and the Caribbean, the football remains at an amateur state. And these places become feeding grounds to areas that are already industrialized. So the best players of Africa, best young players, they all gravitate towards Europe. The same thing in Jamaica. The same thing in the Caribbean. They move towards where the game is operated as an industry. And as an industry now, you talk about various enterprises that are attached to the football, like transportation, like the media, like marketing, advertising, food and beverages. It goes on and on and on. But the Caribbean mindset, the leadership here is backwards. And they speak about industrialization of other aspects of our economic life. For example, a place like Jamaica now. When Jamaica signed the documents to tell the English people that they could go, the English could say, okay, well, now you're independent. So, political independence is cosmetic if you lack economic independence. So those who were in charge set out to develop Jamaica's economy, as they should. And one of the policies that they developed was a policy called industrialization by invitation. And what was really being considered was how to transform things like bauxite, how to transform resources like sugarcane, how to transfer or to develop our natural resources that they become industries. So overseas companies were invited to come to Jamaica to invest in our resources, natural resources, particularly mining and bauxite. And that helped to transform the whole Jamaican society by bringing in a certain amount of revenue that could build infrastructure and so on and so forth for the society. So industrialization now is a key process. What is lacking in Jamaica is the application of industrialization to culture, because that will bring a revolutionary change in the lifestyle of almost all Jamaican people. I want to talk about the industrialization of culture. It also means putting infrastructure in place for entertainment. Entertainment is not just the games now, it's also our music. It's ways how we express ourselves as a people here. So those who are put in power to govern and lead, them seem to take a total strike against industrialization of culture in Jamaica. And it is very evident in how them angle football. The experience of 1994 to 1998 should have shown the Jamaican leadership and the powers that be that if you continue along the path of Rene Simowa's revolution, which was to bring the football to the level of industry, we perhaps would have been in the Final Four, just like Croatia, 20 years onwards. But instead, 20 years onward, we are in a backwards fifth world banana republic state, fighting to beg players to come to play for Jamaica. Coming out of a system wherein the president would go abroad and recruit players who can't make it into them country to come and play for the Reggae Boys. That is where the Reggae Boys program reached, where the football president has been traveling around the world begging players from 3 or 4 generations back to put on the Jamaican colors. Those players could never fight with any passion. Those players had no concept of nationalism. What the Croatians had to demonstrate, the Jamaican players don't have that. So we have to start the thing from square one. And square one meaning mentality. Industrialization of football is the key. And industrialization has a whole heap of little components attached to it. The resource is here in abundance because the resource is in the people. The resource is in the potential of the players. And we see players, 19-year-old players showing up at the World Cup. Mbappe, the first youth to do what Pele did in 1958. Mbappe is 19. Mbappe wouldn't get a game in a Jamaican Premier League because they tell him he's a youth. Yeah? Mbappe would be a schoolboy at 19 here and wouldn't get no blight to play nowhere else because we fight against youths who have talent and all kind of ageism. We fight against a youth, fight against a man when he become a big man, and we fight against a youth when him say, because we say him too young. So there's no standard set to bring the thing to the highest level. We see the Russian team have a man on the side, 35 years old. You see him, Cass? 35 years old, he couldn't get a game in Jamaica. He couldn't get a game. They might tell him to play Masters League. So we have some wicked issues here, some psychological things. We want doctors. We want doctors of psychology to deal with our sporting life here. And we listen to the commentators and the experts at the surface, and it's pure foolishness, the man talk. Whole of foolishness with no experience behind it. So it's just about watching the TV and cheering and waving flags. But our house is in a total disarray. And we have people who are, for example, we have a president in here of the federation now. That the man is not only the federation president, he's still the president of him parish. How is that possible? How can you be the president of your parish association and be the president of the national federation? It's banana republic behavior that. It's some backwards business that. It's men holding on to titles. And as I was told in earlier readings, be careful of men who hide behind titles. They will attack you from the rear. The politics of our football is more corrupted than the politics of the politics. Yes, the PNP JLP politics is less corrupted than the politics in Jamaican football. And it wants a total exhumation, it wants a total examination. How the thing running so headless? Because we're just observing the top 32 nations of the world. High level professionalism. Here in Jamaica is like you jump in like a backyard business, barefoot football in the mud. And then some guys come in jacket and ties and telling you that, you should wash your feet. They don't come with the gears, Them come to tell you what you should have on or what you shouldn't have on. So as far as I'm concerned, we will be spectators of this thing for the longest time. When we begin to think industrialization, which means resources, investment, long-term vision, 20-year plans, difficult in the football because the national politics don't do it. National politics stuck on 3-year plans and 5-year elections. We kind of grieve for Jamaica after this World Cup. Because I realized for 20 years, Iman energy has been contributed to a system that is going backwards. So you see, after this World Cup, I know that it's done. I see where things going and we see where things not going. You sign off officially full time from this Jamaica football thing, Yeah, man, I allow this thing and make it go around. I watch it from an angle, But I'm more convinced now. So if you don't belong to a certain clique, and certain guys can't put them hand on your shoulder and hug you up, you can't function at the highest levels of the society. And Jamaica still not ready for Rastafari in high places of governance. Metamorphosis.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let StylzFM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-priced promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. StylzFM for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
It's Wow Factor Tuesdays with Chungy and Shelly. Every Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's entertainment and interaction at its best. With features like the Share to Care segment, the Uprising 10 Countdown, and the ever-controversial Love Break. Yes, it's the Wow Factor. Your Tuesday mornings will never be the same again.
Wow Factor Tuesdays is sponsored by Bobby's Cafe, Bar and Grill.
Guess what? StylzFM has a new business number for you to call, text, and now WhatsApp. 518-2399. To advertise your business and events, call, text, or WhatsApp us on
518-2399. 518-2399.
Don't forget, 518-2399.
Again, we have to focus on Africans, on Africans' tradition, and the need consistently to rise and shine. Long time I in the dual drums. And to rise and shine means coming to the awareness of who the I is. Who is the I? And then the World Cup brings out emotions and passions, and it crisscrosses the wires and forces one to think about their identity. Where people love to talk about the mixed means that they are confused, because your identity is a fundamental basic unit of your personality. So if you lack clarity as it relates to your identity, then you are confused also in your personality. So the identity thing is very, very essential, you know. And we could hear certain cries during the World Cup of people of African orientation and descent, how they were clinging on to European teams, for example, and nations. And at the same time, in conflict with their Africanness, because we see African teams come to the World Cup, 5 nations, and yet we see African people outside the continent failing to find any affinity with these teams. And of course the reasons vary. If we were watching African teams on our television every Sunday, we would certainly be more familiar with them than familiar with Filani and Harry Kane and these other dudes that we see on the television. And then now there are persons now who are so disconnected from their Africanness that they don't see the relationship between the struggle on the play field and the struggle of the Africans in the world in general. So there are people now who will back the French team as world champions, and they are unaware that the level of racism and anti-immigration issues that Africans face is very intense in those places. So, are those players Frenchmen? Is Mbappe a Frenchman? Is Pogba a Frenchman? And if you really get to the bottom of that identity issue, inside France, these men are not Frenchmen, because Frenchmen are Europeans. Yeah, Frenchmen are Europeans. And when we talk about the black men in France, representing France, are they really Frenchmen? Or are they Africans under the banner, the national banner of France? Because we know, so once them man go certain places, even though they are footballers of France, there are still places that them man they can't go as individual black men. They can't go there. Them out of bounds because of the racial discrimination that exists in those places. So do we close one eye to the racism and celebrate black man presence in France? Or we realize the conflict? Do we realize that the French are doing the same thing that they have been doing for decades, which is accessing African resources to build up their society? So, right through the whole of European football, the African presence is there now. We don't find African presence necessarily in Asia. And we won't find African presence in Argentina. Because the Argentines have gone through their own policy of eradicating black people long time ago. We cannot be ignorant to the struggle of the races. And there's no hiding from that struggle because you think that you are mixed. Those who are mixed sometimes find themselves in a greater crisis because there are no enemies on both sides. So we have to use these experiences to strengthen our concept of our own identity. There are Europeans who are born in Africa, white men, having children there for 2-3 generations. They are calling themselves Africans too. So who really is African now? So you see, once you get locked up into that notion, because the Chinese are going to have children in Africa, do you know? And they may call themselves Chinese Africans. But there's one thing none of those nations can call themselves. They can't call themselves black. And that now is our rallying call. Them can always go to Africa and call themselves Africans. Just like how anybody can come to Jamaica and after a certain amount of years, they can call themselves Jamaicans. Because we're talking about national identities. So Africa really, in the context of the world, is a national identity. And what African people must realize that behind that national identity is a race of people. And that race of people are black people, and we're not limited now just to Africa. Black people are all over the globe. And now the Europeans trying to pin Africa as a homeland of all black people wider than Africa. Because Africa is not just that continent. The black man's home is the whole planet. The earth is the black man's home. So don't get locked into Africa and think that Africa alone is where a black man must reside. The black man has been in Europe even before the Europeans came out of the cave. So you look into the French team, you see plenty black man. Yeah, that you say, enough black man. You look into the Belgian teams, you see black man. You look into all the German side, you see black man. So when we begin to embrace our blackness, that is when we're going to begin to stand out, you know. Because the Europeans are already hiding behind the mask of being Africans. Ask those in Southern Africa. Ask those who have stolen our lands for centuries. Them call themselves Afrikaans. So we're not going to fight for that title, but I think we should fight for our black selves. It's one thing them can't say, no. Them can't say them black. Them can't call themselves everything else. And look at it. They tell us that there is an almighty creator. And this creator God made angels. And then the angels that were made were just a little bit above men. So this concept of a creator now creates angels and men in a hierarchy. And the angels are above men. But guess what? All the angels are white. All the angels are white. So all men who are created below angels are inferior to white angels. People, wake up. Embrace your blackness.
ram dancer. Come make me teach you how to rule the galang, 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 galang. Come make me show you how to ram dancer. Come make me teach you how to rule the Jadas Jafarai, he's the king of kings of all sound. Always inspired of him will always be around. There's no greater king in the universe to be found. He rules each air and water, word, power and sound. Come make me show you how to ram dance. Come make me teach you how to rule Come make me show you how to ram dance.
Yeah, healing up ones and ones. Heal up. A man send me a WhatsApp and him just say, heal up coach. And leave a sound. So you just make I know his own, no? See? And of course, heal up D locked in, man locked in enough time and consciously regular and advancing in his own state of consciousness. Yeah, we love that. Yeah, so Iman just have breeze out of this World Cup thing a little bit, because it's 64 games, 1 month. That's a heavy dose. And the thing about it, while that was going on, the world was going on, the world was spinning, and some dangerous things were taking place. And I want to touch some of those things now, especially the movement of the American president. Because every time he moves, the world move with him now. So the man get forceful. And I want to touch a little bit upon next week's program in advance. Because next week is the 23rd of July, It's the most important day in the tradition of Rastafari. It's a day when the Rastaman celebrate the Earth Strong of him, H-I-M, His Imperial Majesty. So I want to return to the book of Revelations and continue that exploration and speak about the Lion of Judah. How we come about this concept of Lion of Judah, and what is it about the 7 seals and loosening up the 7 seals and Revelations 5, all the various things that Rastafari in his cosmology apply to come to some understanding as to who is this King of Kings, who is this Lord of Lords, who is this conquering lion of the tribe of Judah? Who is Judah? Where does the tribe of Judah come from? How many nations can associate themselves with the tribe of Judah? And in a more historical way now, Solomon and Sheba, and I will examine Solomon and Sheba, and more critically want to look at Sheba. Who was Sheba? Did she really come out of Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, or did she come from a small place called Saba? What is the connection between Solomon and Sheba in the world of history, not the world of the Bible? Who was Esau? How the whole lineage create? Because it has an impact in today's world. Because there are many ones who consider themselves to be descendants of these people. And so when we talk about the 12 tribes of Israel, we want to talk about where that concept of Israel come from. Why it has captured the imagination of the Rastaman. So we move into all that reasoning because in the next strong is the 23rd. I want to deconstruct and re-examine this Revelation book and realize that the Lion of Judah and Jacob and Esau, all those stories have to be revisited because there are a lot of flaws and misinformation that has led a lot of ones to be confused. That in this time, the Rastaman will speak of His Majesty as the return to Christus, And the Christians will speak about Christos soon come again. What is this? Are these facts or fictions? And Iman just think it's something that we need to examine and explore. And yeah, next program for sure. Because we want to know about this book of Revelation, you know. Because it has captured and a lot of people in fear. People are living in fear. And the book is said to be open for interpretation, which is part of the foundation of the conflict. Because if three people look at the same line of thought and come up with three different interpretations, you have the foundation set for conflict. In other words, once you have to interpret something, the reality varies, and there's no truth. There cannot be a truth to an issue once you have to interpret it. It means you're going to have different opinions, and we're not going to arrive at the truth. So it's not just about being African now. We want to zero in specifically on the books that they're giving us to keep us controlled. And in that book, which is really the King James Bible, Rastafari has gone into that book and has come out with a different interpretation. Because remember now, you know, it's interpretation and tell us that we must interpret. And your interpretation is based upon your own personal knowledge of history, science, culture, everything. So, the journey of awakening will continue. Because the awakening comes from revisiting the things that we accept as fact. We have to be bold enough to revisit ideas and concepts given to us from the time our eyes were at our knees. And we never ever thought it conscious enough to open up the reasoning, to examine these things. So, identity issue continue to be on the top of the agenda. But more critically now, as we come home, meaning Jamaica and the region that surrounds us. You know, while the World Cup was going on, you know, the President of the United States, of course, you know, he has an agenda. We call it MAGA, M-A-G-A. It is to make America great again. And a lot of people in America now, particularly black people, who are upset and they are comparing Trump with Obama. And they're telling you all the virtues of Obama and how he was very suave and sophisticated and spoke good language. And his wife was very committed and dedicated, and the family life they had was perfect. And everything now is a comparison to Barack Obama. That is a first mistake being made by black people. There should be no attempt to compare Obama and Trump. No attempt. Once you begin to do that, you lose in your focus. Because Obama came at a time when white power America needed a man like Obama. He came to rescue America from the image that Bush had created. Bush and Cheney had created a very destructive image, an embarrassing image of America. And the white power establishment realized that America couldn't continue like that. They had to change their face. And so the face of America changed, but America never changed. It changed the face. And the face became that of a suave-looking black man with a powerful black woman and children in the man White House. And we do have to go over the terrorism that reached Obama. Much of the terrorism was also inspired by this present president. It's him started the birther movement to question the birthright of Obama. So, if we are careful enough in our evaluation of this present president, nobody should be disturbed We should be alert and glad for the awakening. Because it is obvious now that this president represents the 50s and the 40s of white America, when there were signs up that says whites only, when segregation was the normal way. Well, in today's world, there's no an attempt to what you call introduce resegregation. And the more vital thing I want to get to know is that the black people who are living in America, coming from other countries, immigrants who have become, some of you have become citizens, some of you have become owners of a most important document in America called the alien card. Now, I always have a problem with the alien card, you know, because I don't know why I have to call people from outside of America aliens. Immigrants is not enough. They have to call you alien. And then there's this alien card now that everybody's struggling for. When I say everybody, you know what I mean? Those who want to be full-time in America. It's called a green card. And when people get the green card, they usually just relax because America now becomes their home. Because them have them green card. And where them come from now, where them used to live, in the society them come from, them just wave goodbye to that. Some of them say cuss and condemn the islands and countries that them come from because them feel settled in America. Well, you see this Trump now? The Trump is now navigating legislation. And this legislation has one objective. And that objective is called denaturalization. Now, I tell you this now, you know. Denaturalization is an attempt to take away the citizenship rights of immigrants. And don't think them can't do it because it's for them country. And the whole argument now is that if you commit a violation against the federal or state government, as it relates to getting any kind of financial benefits over the last 30 years. You hear how far the man I'm going with this? 30 years. On that basis, they are able to tell you to pack up your things and go home. So those of you who are sitting with your green cards, feeling safe, the green card is no longer an insurance policy against deportation. And immigrants can now be deported from the US if they break the rules of federal and state programs that offer public benefits to immigrants over the last 30 years. So enough man bottom I go tweet. Uncle Sam is on the prowl. What does it mean to the ones and ones now who are conscious? It means you have to start thinking deeper than America and thinking actually outside of America. For those who are native born in America and them tell you say you don't come from nowhere else, you're not able to be deported. So if you don't choose to move voluntarily, your next spot is in the prison. Those who are native born in America, black man, have to begin to realize that American is not a part of his identity. That American is a national identity. And that's what the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants are claiming. They are claiming that they are Americans. Now, I don't think black people should stay in America and fight to be Americans. And black people should not be under the illusion that they built America, because when slaves are working, they're not building anything, they are slaving. And they're not building for themselves, they're building it for the dominant culture. So anytime the black man in America starts shake off that American identity nationally, then I think black people will begin to move. and the collective move. Think about it. Think about the collective move out of America. Because it's coming down to that, you know. We see where the police force, a youth selling newspaper, and them call the cops on the youth because white people feel threatened. So in every situation, the white man say he feels threatened, calls the police. And when the police come, they're not coming to ask questions. They're coming scared of their lives because they're under threat. So what is happening again in Chicago? Policeman them and the gunshot and the killing of black youths now has become on the agenda again. And so how do you resolve this? In the 1960s and 70s, when the Black Panther movement rose up as an institution to protect black people, white man got scared because black man started talking about the Constitution, giving him the right now to bear arms. So, the Black Panther has been reduced to a movie. The rebellious resistance of black people in America has been transformed by Hollywood into a futuristic movie. And so the sting, 10 years from now, when you ask a child about Black Panther, he will not remember Dr. Carmichael, and he will not remember Angela Davis. I'm going to tell you about Wakanda. Some fanciful thing. So every time black people develop something as a symbol of our resistance, the white man water it down until it has no value. And I say Rastafari must be very careful because we're treading that trad now. We're in these white people defining Rasta. White man write book about Rasta. And then white people telling Rasta how Rasta must behave. You ever hear anything like that? It will happen. And because we're not claiming our blackness, we're trying to facilitate white people into Rastafari. Once and one must know this now, Rastafari, as a militant resistance movement, was fighting 110% against white supremacy and white domination. How do you think white people get into an organization that fighting against white domination? White man them tell the black man them say, look, we have the money to help you, but you have to find a way to let you in. And so we let them in. And how we let them in? We're telling them no, so we're fighting against black and white oppressors. Watch that. Compromise. Sell out.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let StylzFM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-priced promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. StylzFM for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
Architects, draftsmen, and surveyors, get your drawings printed in high-quality professional standards. We can satisfy your printing needs. Whether it is for presentation to your clients or for submitting building and subdivision application, make it VJ Printing Services. Whether drawing by hand or with computer-aided softwares, we will plot your negatives and print the copies as you need. We do high-quality white paper printing that is water-resistant and never fades, unlike traditional blueprint. For more information, call VJ Printing at 893-2266.
This is Ricardo Suave, inviting you to tune into Smoothic, the show for the ladies, with DJ Prestige, from 9 to midnight every Tuesday on Styles 96.1 FM, Portland's best.
I've been watching you.
Are you sick of living an average life and tired of just getting by?
Do you want to take your life to the next level? Learn the secrets of the super successful. Listen to Power in a Half Hour with Coach Mark this and every Wednesday night on StylzFM from 9 to 10 p.m. Learn the habits of the super successful and how to make these habits work for you. Learn to turn your dreams and desires into reality. You can win in the game of life. Let Coach Mark show you how. Every Wednesday night on StylzFM from 9 to 10 p.m.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill, they offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
Seriously, the most dangerous thing that exists in the world today is serious thing. Oh yes it is.
Hail up Cuban from them times until this time. ISIS.
Let me tell you it's a serious thing. Can't get no work, can't get no pay. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. The little children, they can't go to school. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. Teachers demonstrating for their salaries. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. To come home to find your children out of school and on the streets idling is a very serious thing. This arises from a situation where instead of teachers or in school teaching, they're on the streets demonstrating, and that's a so much wars and famine on the land. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. Yet we are making more war planes. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. There is no attention on the youth nowadays. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. No future plans or opportunities. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. The devastating memory of Hiroshima has not quenched the blood and thirst of Satan, and that's a very serious thing. His future plans are to devour your children as he eats some bread and to create instead the dawn of the dead. In town and country it's the same old cry. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. Brothers and sisters, I'm a telling no lie. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. Sometimes you'd wonder if you're wrong or right. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. If you've got to stand up and fight, let me tell you it's a serious thing. The struggle for the black man's liberty against the vicious apartheid system of South Africa is a very serious thing. And if the weapon of resistance is in the hand of the oppressed against the oppressors, then that also is a very serious thing. Can't pay my bills, can't pay my rent. Now let me tell you it's a serious thing. Food is essential, but I ain't got a cent. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. So much people begging in the streets. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. Some are big enough to ever buy to eat. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. If in the nick of time you come home to find the landlord's bailiff relieving of all your possessions, that could be a serious thing. For your table or for your chair you could find a spare, but to take your better way is a very serious thing. To go to your brother to ask for a loan only to realize that he was heading for your home is a very serious thing. And to be in a position where your daily bread comes only from the garbage is a very serious thing. Tom, Dick and Harry, they are complaining. Oh yeah, they are saying it's a serious thing. About the condition they are living in. Oh yeah, they are saying it's a serious thing. So much in the prison, living in one cell. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. Much more to joining in that smell. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. To be confined to a cell which like a cesspool bears a smell is a very, very serious thing. To be stripped of all your rights, sanity, dignity and liberty is a very, very serious thing. To be chained and shackled and thrown in a dungeon is a very, very serious thing. Looking on the chain gang, more than that, it's a serious thing.
Yeah, this is a very serious thing right now. You see, the fun and games of the World Cup are over. And we have to return to dealing with the fundamental basics of our existence. And as we were watching the ball bounce around in Russia, the world was undergoing a new order. Let me remind you and welcome you again to the world and to show you the order that is now being reset. Because we cannot just be following along and hearing from CNN and BBC and ABC and all these various letters that inform us and remind us of how we must think. Well, while we were watching the ball play in Russia, let us remember that there's an order, there's an established order of power and dominance, established from the end of World War II. And when these orders and systems are being put in place, African people, black people are chattel. Black people are labor force. Black people are sources of labor. And we can begin to talk about the 40s, from the 40s coming up into these, in the 1900s. And at the end of World War II, after Second Great European War, the white men decide that they don't want to have any more destruction again on their own lands, particularly in Europe. Because Europe was destroyed twice, heavily destroyed. The second time around, they had to call in black people to help them to rebuild it. So we see that from the 40s, the world set up itself under the governance and directorship of two countries in the Western world. And these two places were the USA and the USSR, more known as Russia, or the Soviet Union. So from the 40s coming to the 50s, the impression that the world was divided into two, East and West. The Western world represented the free world, and the Eastern world was the world of the communists, where the people were captured and them couldn't worship God and them couldn't buy a plenty car and them didn't have the excessive of the Western world. So East and West was a split. Not only was it split in terms of direction, it was a split in terms of politics. Because the West claimed that they were the masters of capitalism, and that was the best way to have a society function. And in the East, they claimed socialism and communism. And so there was a general impression that the world was being run by these two, what they call superpowers. Not only were these two powers super, they advanced their technology and their science that they become the two great powers in space as well. So again, Russia and the Soviet Union, people born 1990 may not even know what I'm talking about, but just listen, because it has happened. It happened already, happened on the Earth. It's part of Earth history. So the world had two superpowers. And now that you understand FIFA, I can tell you now that the world had three superpowers: the USSA, the USSR, and FIFA. And FIFA still remains the biggest government, even though they may not have any nuclear weapons at their disposal. They are still the largest government on the planet. So the USA and the USSR now control the military and the political and the economics. And black people now in the Western world become subservient to capitalist forces and to white America in general. They also have them religion to back it, because capitalism is the economic system, democracy is the political system, and Christianity is a religious system. And these are the three systems that work in tandem with each other to keep black people under control and maintain black labor. There's Christianity, capitalism, and democracy. And these three constructs have a foundation in slavery. Because out of slavery, they come up with this thing called democracy. And out of slavery, the capitalism system gets its energy. And out of slavery, the religion has its foundation in the minds of the slaves that keeps them as slaves. So the 1940s and 50s, Russia and America controlling the world. The Russians, as far as we know historically, weren't a part of the colonizing force that went into Africa. Neither were the Americans, but they benefited from the transatlantic slave trade in African people. So we have a world in the 40s, 50s with two great powers. And they would contest and compete against each other in areas of sports, particularly the Olympics. And these countries use these sports to demonstrate their economic and social organization and strength. And if you notice, they're always competing for medals, whether the USA win more medals than the Soviet Union, and that was a big rivalry. So while they rival in certain areas, they also learn to cooperate in other areas. This is a weakness of the black man now, where we have developed the ability to rival and compete, but we don't get the insight to cooperate. This is an important element, particularly now in team sports, because in team games, individual players in the team may be rivaling with each other, but they have to learn to cooperate as a unit. Side story. So we're coming through the 40s and the 50s and the 60s with this America and Russia. You know that in the 1970s, Jamaica, Liquor Island, get caught up now between Russia and America. Yeah, Liquor Island here. We get caught up between the two superpowers. And how? Well, our politics before 1970 was in line with the United States and Britain. It was in line. And by the 1970s, with the advent of Michael Manley and the PNP and their direction, the government politics moved away from America and Europe, Western Europe, and began to adopt ideas that were attached to Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union. So Jamaica now was beginning to play international politics with the big boys, not knowing that we're not a big boy. And Jamaica got inspiration from a neighbor, Cuba, because Cuba was already under the influence of the Soviet Union. And because the Soviet Union and the United States were always rivals, the Soviet Union wanted not only Cuba, but they also wanted Jamaica. The Soviet Union wanted to have an influence in the Caribbean. The Americans would say, no way, not in our backyard, or not in my backyard. So Jamaica now get caught up in an international struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union. And the Michael Manley government began to lean towards the Soviet Union. And that spelled the end of the Manley government, because Washington would never have it that. No superpower would have a small island on the back door pretending that they belong to somebody else. So Washington brought an end to the Manley experiment, and socialism in Jamaica came to a screeching halt. The leadership was replaced by a government in Jamaica that would represent the United States and not the Soviet Union. Remember again, there are other Caribbean islands who were under the influence of the Soviet Union. The most notable one was Maurice Bishop in Grenada. And Bishop attempted to unite with Cuba and Jamaica and the Soviet Union, and the Americans would have none of it. This time they went in by force, military force, and removed Bishop and his cadre. I'm saying that to remind them now that up to the 1970s, the world knew two superpowers, the Soviet Union and the Americans. Well, in 1980, America brought a president out of Hollywood. His name was Ronald Reagan. And Reagan also had an agenda. His agenda was to make America white again. Well, great. Make America great again. So it's not Donald Trump start the Make America Great movement. It's Ronald Reagan. And Reagan not only set out to make America great again, he set out to pull up the Soviet Union. Yeah, to destabilize the Soviet Union. And America had support from Britain, and America had support from the Vatican. The evil trinity, Washington, London, and the Vatican. And between 1980 and 1990, they would pull the Soviet Union apart. That's why you have teams like Croatia now, and Slovenia, and Bosnia. All of these countries were under one banner, under the USSR. And Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher and the Pope, they never stopped until they pulled down the Soviet Union. But guess what happened? You think, say, the Soviet Union would have just get pulled down without any response? Well, I'm telling you that right now, the revenge is on. And the revenge of the Soviet Union now is being supported by Donald Trump. Yeah, Trump has become the default unifier. And Trump has become the greatest ally now to Putin. And in this new alliance, while we were watching the World Cup, Trump was busy dismantling the alliance between the United States and Europe. Because the Americans and the Europeans had come together and to create this thing called NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, a military organization to defend against Russia. Now in 2018, the President of America is telling the Europeans that the alliance is not necessary. That the unity that was built up over the last 40 years between Europe and America can be torn up. As the brother said, the deal is not a good deal. So what we're seeing now is that Trump is ripping up all the deals that America made over the last 40 years. Yeah. So America's connections with the United Nations, with the European Union, with China, with Mexico, with all of its allies are now under threat. Because this president, Donald Trump, has a new agenda. And this agenda is to get all black people out of America, or to get them into their positions where they recognize that they are slaves. The Russians have an agenda. They want to pull the United States apart the same way the United States pulled the Soviet Union apart. So black people can't stay in America and go on like them want to hold up America, you know. You better prepare to flee. Because America is being pulled down. And Trump is a main agent of this America's demolition. The war has started along the line of trade. The war has started along the line of culture. All of these are being inspired by the American president. And rather than black people remaining spectators to this game, we better become active players and start gear up for change teams. But for change teams, because the United States now is becoming isolated. Yes, all the nations in the world now begin to create their own isolation from America. So the European Union, they recognize that they have to be on their own. The Chinese realize long time that they're on their own. The Mexicans, the women, all groups and people realizing that they have to stand on their own 2 foot now. Everybody except the black people. It looks like it's only the black people don't realize there's a time that they begin to stand on their own 2 feet now. Because there's no backative from a place called America. Backative have to come from individual self, we collective as a group, and our recognition that there's a land that we own, but we're not occupying it as owners. We're talking about the continent. And even during the World Cup, people talk about Africa like it's one country. It's 54 countries make up the continent of Africa. And you can drop the United States in Africa. You can drop Europe in Africa. You can drop Japan in Africa. You can drop many other countries in Africa and still have vast amount of land space as Africa. So the world has been undergoing tectonic changes and we're being distracted by media and sports. We're not paying attention. The World Cup done now. The shootings are becoming prominent again in places like Chicago. Police killings now are becoming more reported again. And what it thought was cooling down, it's stepping up. And it's stepping up against the black people. How much longer will we continue to be victims of the system? When we become aggressors and organize? Hear him talk about say, man not here to fight against flesh and blood, but up against powers and principalities. If we burn that out, 200 years now and more we're fighting powers and principalities and it don't change nothing. We have to start focus on flesh and blood. We begin to identify the real enemy. It can't be our brothers and sisters who look like we. The real enemy also moves in flesh and blood. We could come out of that principality and powers argument and get practical. Practicality is what will bring the change, not spirituality. Metamorphosis.
Crucial. I'm out on the rock now, with no clothes on my back, yo. No shoes on my feet now. I've got nothing to eat, yo. Not even little flour. Crucial. To mix little dumpling. Crucial. Said no rice. Crucial. Do not flick Sunday rice and peas. Crucial. Crucial. Good gosh, it's crucial. Whoa, it's crucial. It's your pressure. Crucial. It's getting better and dreader. Crucial. My back on the wall now. My belly filled with white squall, yo. Got no job to get paid now. Not even borrows to spend now. Not even little sugar. Crucial. To mix liquor wash, my gosh. Crucial. No bread nor butter. Crucial. Can't even make little supper. Crucial. That's why I say that this your system. Crucial. In your this your rhythm. Crucial. I'm out on the rock now, with no clothes on my back, yo. No shoes.
For the best quality in sound reinforcement and backlining, native audio. We have professional engineers with over 20 years of experience. So call us and we'll take care of your parties, wedding receptions, barbecues, conferences, and small stage shows. Crystal clear sound, native audio. Our prices are the best. Call us at 871-5212. That's 871-5212. Native audio. We make your events audible.
Take us to work. Take us on the go. Take us wherever you go. StylzFM.
Take StylzFM with you on the go. The number for USA 213-992-4360. That's 213-992-4360. And for the United Kingdom, 033-0010-3322. That's 033-0010-3322.
StylzFM.
Guess what? StylzFM has a new business number for you to call, text, and now WhatsApp. 518-2399. To advertise your business and events, call, text, or WhatsApp us on
518-2399. 518-2399.
Don't forget, 518-2399. Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill, they offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
Those who can hear me, I say, do not despair, do not despair, do not despair.
A judgment, a judgment, a judgment, a judgment. I said this world was created in a circle, and true fear man live it in a square. And it a force and I in a triangle, and it seems like some of us no care. But me say hell I go pop down, yeah. Come take a look in at the future. Hell I go pop down, yeah. If mankind no change them good behavior, them a go build more prison, cause the mobs them a go loot. Them a fi build more shot because them soldiers a go shoot. Them nah build no machine, nah no water boat, cause no man no want fi plant, but them want fi reap the fruits. Hell I go pop down, yeah. Come take a look in at the future. Hell I go pop down, yeah. If mankind no change them good behavior, hell I go pop down, yeah. Come take a look in at the future. Hell I go pop down, yeah. If mankind no change them good behavior, no one knows the minute nor the hour, but vividly they go along misusing their powers. Never satisfied, always wanting more, and the plight of the people they ignore. While them a run down, push me see the rat gun with the loot, and the big dog round and back, I go take away your boat. Cynical government a generate violence. Can't you see they got no conscience? Hell I go pop down, yeah. Come take a look in at the future. Hell I go pop down, yeah. If mankind no change them good behavior, hell I go pop down, yeah. Come take a look in at the future. Hell I go pop down, yeah. If mankind no change them good behavior, judgment, I say a judgment.
Yeah, you know, I was having some feed forward now on some of the reasoning I've had earlier. Our brethren saying that him say Africans cheering for the French World Cup team is equivalent to cheering on the capitalist enslavers for using enslaved African workers to become wealthy and fuel the Industrial Revolution. We must never put our politics of liberation to sleep when we engage the bread and circus politics of Babylon. We need bread, but racist, patriarchal, and capitalist hegemony gives us the distracting circus of the World Cup. In other words, now there are persons who are finding it difficult to cheer for a country like France. In other words, another virgin said France has been and is an enemy of Africans. France is currently actively hunting down people that look like us in the lands around Mali and Chad. Let us not uncritically celebrate the colonizers. Just because people that look like us are the face of the colonizing team does not change the facts. So you see, there are persons who are able to see beyond the circus and to look deep into the colonizers who really control the circus, because it's France invent the World Cup tournament, you know. It's for them thing. And they have the whole world fighting for it, and they are using Africans to defend it. So it's just a little remark. And persons, you know, if you want to make a comment on this, you know, just give me a call, 453-1444. If you have a personal view as whether people taking it too serious by speaking about the politics and the race issues, or if you think that we're too sensitive and we should just ignore that and have a good time, share your view. 453-1444. And you know, if you're overseas and you want to make that comment, it's 1876 first, and then it's Cassidy know it, then it's 954 338-7973. So the local number one is 876-453-1444, and if you're overseas, it's 954-338-7973. What are your views? Is it that we are being too black when we speak about the blackness of the teams relative to the white structures that they represent as terms of a country? Or is it that we don't know how to relax? Because there are points of view, and people think that celebrating World Cup victory is celebrating with the imperialists them. So what is your view? You know, one person say it's a characteristic of oppressed people to always look at the others in greater light, you know. So we don't know. You say. One person said they still use us, they need us, they want us to do labor for discount, but they want us to do labor but discount our humanity and their brutality. All colonizers, and not just some. So the world of sports now becomes conflicting for black people because of the emotional attachment we have to games. But we have to begin to use our intellect and to see clearer. Another person said, the use of blacks as gladiators has been an age-long practice in Rome. France using them to win the World Cup twice in 20 years keep reminding us of an old wound. So you see, there are those who know, and there are those who don't care. And there's another comment. You really hate to see people having fun, don't you? What do you want those players to do? Lead a revolution in Africa that you are too cowardly to lead in the West yourself? They are providing for their families. Leave people alone. You have no room to talk about people, not unless you start walking the walk, instead of mouthing off and finding fault with everything people do. So you see, the argument is on several sides. These players that we are critiquing, these players are victims of the system because they are on a part of survival. They are trying to find ways to earn for their families and to maintain their social lives. So they have moved into the world of professional sports. They could have been boxers, they could have been other sportsmen, but they have chosen football. So there's no real direct attack at these players because they are playing. They are not able to help themselves because the bigger thing swoop them up. And the bigger thing is the World Cup, the power structure, the racial order, the global racial hierarchy. All these forces come to play. But then again, if you are a revolutionary, you will understand the various aspects of the struggle and realize that it's really a white man's game. Now, in America, in the 1840s, 50s, black man was not allowed to play baseball in the white man's league. The black man developed his own Negro leagues. Yeah, and the great baseball players, though the records are not officially respected by white society, the records are there. So, options have been utilized for black people to find ways to express themselves in sports, but the overarching power structure is really controlled by white people. And that is not possible to get around unless all black people decide to boycott all white people sports. And that kind of extreme and unheard of. But we have to see the value in the points people raise, particularly those who are revolutionary in mind and are resistant to white dominant culture. We know that if I go on a plane tomorrow and go to France, it don't matter whether the French team had black men in it, I ain't get the same treatment that black people get generally. I won't have a little thing on my jacket mark, what you call special, like what they gave to the black man who would play cricket in South Africa. Your special pass. We couldn't deal with that. But the thing that we have to contend with, because when we come into the world of sports, into the world of religion, we find that the same order is dominant, where the European remains the dominant feature in even our own religion. And we have black men as preachers, preaching the word that the white man have given us to talk. So even those things now we can question. What is it that black people really doing when we get ourselves involved in the activities that the white man has created? So, again, 4531444, what are your views? Is it that we're overreading the situation? And really and truly, is it not a matter about resources? Because if the resource was in the countries where these Africans come from, Cameroon and Mali and these other African countries, those are the countries that will produce in the World Cup winners. But it's obvious that Africa is lacking in industry. And just like in Jamaica, when the society frustrates the individuals, people take up themselves and go where them think them can find it better. So we have Jamaicans now who take up themselves and go to America, become citizens, ended up playing for Uncle Sam. What is our situation? How do we relate to that? Because America is one of the greatest oppressors that we know. But you have black man going there representing the United States. What we really deal with. It's worthy of a little thought. Yeah, worthy of a little thought. We're going to come forward and get into the preparation for next week's program as we investigate the Lion of Judah and Jacob and the sons of and the tribes of Israel and all of these European configurations now that black people have attached themselves with. And in the long run, it doesn't really lead to any change in our status in the global hierarchy. The black people are still viewed at the bottom of the rung. Not only are we viewed at the bottom of the rung. Hey Cassidy, you ever type in Caucasian in your typewriter in your computer and write it with a Command C? What the thing may ask you, If you try that, the computer jump up by itself, and change it to a capital C. It's when you try to write black in front of something like black man or black president, the black stays small, There is no move by the computer to capitalize the B, Because even the computer has been programmed to view black people as objects. Yeah, it doesn't change to a capital letter because the capital letter suggests that you're talking about persons. These are all the laws of English work. We are in a position where we don't even get any ratings from our own selves based on how we describe ourselves as black. When our academics and intellectuals begin to write black with a capital B, every time, it means psychologically we have made a leap from object to subject. Metamorphosis.
Rastafari is a way of life and not a religion. A tradition. Make up your mind. Oh Lord, make sure a King Rastafari you are hailing at this time. Make up your mind. Rastafari, you be hailing at this time. Nobody ma heal Rastafari. Them no mean it from them heart. Oh, never walk the walk, but ever talk the talk. Oh yes, oh they must speak Jah, and never seek Jah. I listen, I see the teacher. I and I come fi burn out imposter. Heal Rasta, make up your mind. Rastafari, you be hailing at this time. Make up your mind. Rastafari, you be hailing at this time. From afar, eyes can see them moving under false pretense. Them harden them heart and yam them conscience. This your fire, blazing a yard, and none of them thirst can quench. And when them think the work's done, Rasta works it just commence. Make up your mind. Rastafari, you be hailing at this time. Make up your mind.
Yeah, so we're trying to make up a mind as it relates to France and the African players. One writer says that the desire to claim the French national team as an African team is just bizarre. The majority of players and the whole team are not African, and critically, the coaching staff and management of the team are not African. So, we seem to be clutching on to straws here. You see, we seem to be clutching straws because in the reality, it's a French team. It's France. The team is France. The team is not Africa. Brazil has the largest black population outside of Africa. And it has serious racial discriminations. And yet we cheer for Brazil. So, we have to check ourselves, and we need to find some level of consistency in our approach to these positions, So, when you look at the money side now, it is being suggested right now that in this 1 month of football is $6 billion United States dollars. FIFA realize. What am I say? In 1 month, FIFA realized $6 billion United States dollars. And that is just the initial returns. So anybody who thinks it's a game, and game is idleness, I've totally missed the point. It's the biggest money game. $6 billion United States dollars. Jamaica economy would never see that in 100 years. Yet FIFA makes that in 1 month. Think about it.
Conquering Lion of Judah. again and again and again. Schemes and conspiracies, false rulers without morality. You're counseling with prejudices and constantly making us your victims. And you show no love for the poor, applying pressure more and more. Never care for the people's concern. So in a flames and fire you will burn. Cause you're coming with a new day, terrible to man and pagan. None can escape when your fire starts to kindle and the earth starts shake. Oh gosh, the conquering lion is here to break every chain and give I the victory again and again and again. See it, every day my people struggle to survive in a world of poverty and genocide. And the basic needs for them to stay alive makes it so critical. See it, but Father, come down and pour out your heart. Have mercy on the weak in spirit and the poor in heart. Deliver them quick before them get caught in false rituals. Ooh-wee. Draw not your face from them in ignorance, soldier. With them you made a covenant, deliverance, soldier. Oh yes, your kingdom come down.
Yeah, all right. So we want to just use the rest of the program now to speak to us July 23rd program, which is the Earth Strong of the centerpiece of Rastafari as a philosophical movement. And there are those who will try to tell you that Rastafari is a religion. And they know why they try to tell you that, because religion is something that is contained. Religion is something that has rules and regulations and orders. And so there are those who would like to get Rastafari in that framework. And there are a lot of Europeans and intellectuals and black African-looking intellectuals, black people, who doing the work of the Europeans and also pushing the idea about this, you know. All right, let's put it this way. We are at a stage where people see that the world is getting more topsy-turvy. And in that observation, black people know, because they don't give us much more to reflect upon, everybody always run to this one book, because they tell us that it's this one book of all answers. And this one book is the solution. Not only is the solution, it is the ultimate answer to all things. And this book now, they call it the book that contains the words of God. Now, within that words of God, you know, the books that are important to Rastafari are books like Psalms, as Old Testament, and the books of the prophets. And of course, everybody is captivated by the Genesis and the Exodus. But significant to know, the book that is most intriguing and most captivating from this perspective is the book that tells people about the end. This end of the world concept, and therefore the book of Revelations becomes an important book to deconstruct. Often people don't read it because of fear. But because I lack fear in reading and investigating, it is just natural to open up our curiosity as it applies to this particular book. Now, the Rastaman, in general, speak about the conquering lion. And this conquering lion represents enough things. Plenty things. One of the enough things now is the idea of the world needing a savior. Because the world that they tell us that we're living in was a world in which people were born in sin and shaped by iniquity. This is a world that they tell us that I and I in, and that world needs solution, it needs a salvation, it needs a savior. Well, all right. Well, in the reading now of this book called Revelations, and a couple of programs before, I started to speak about this book because one of the first things you have to address now, is the author. Anything you're reading, whether it's a newspaper article or a book or a magazine, anything you're reading, you need to have an idea who is the writer. Who is the author? And then you have to know something about the author. Is the author female? Is the author male? Is the author middle-aged? Is the author young? Where did the author live? Who influences, etc., etc. Political ideology. All of those things come together. And then we hear about this character named John. Not the Baptist. Not the John who was an Iron Man. So I that he could be responsible for baptizing the Jesus. This John now is a madman named John the Insane. They say John the Divine. And this is a John now who goes on an island in as a site for punishment. And it's from this island now, this man sit down and is going to pen these words that are going to become the revelation. That in today's time, 2018, people using this book and the writings that were written in the 2nd century as a guidepost into the future. So within that writing and reading, we're introduced to symbols and characters in the book of Revelations. And one of the important symbols is the Lion of Judah. One of the important titles is King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. Now, what does that really mean? And who do these titles refer to? So we go into the book of Revelations and we begin to realize that, first of all, the writer is speaking not to African people, not to China people, and speaking to some churches in Asia. So I want the black man, them, Rasta man, them, African people now realize that when this book is being written, I and I is not a part of the conception. When the 2nd century came around, black people, African people, in the southern parts of Africa, in the central, in the western, in the north, in the east, we have our own philosophy and religion and spirituality a long time. We weren't concerned about the end of the world. It's the Western black people now who have been brought into this and those who have been introduced to the Christian world and the Bible, holding on to this book as the book of the future, telling them about how the world will end. Well, in this ending now, Rastaman read this book from a perspective of African-centeredness and trying to find a way out of this literature. And so when we look into now the book of Revelations, it speaks about the loosing up of 7 seals. It speaks about a conquering lion of the line of Judah, of the descent of Judah. It speaks about some personalities that we have to investigate in some certain time zones. And I'm saying today, I know July 23rd, which is next week, is symbolic for Rastafari because it is a date that His Majesty entered this earth space. And His Majesty entered the earth space now as a descendant of a lineage of kings that the Bible speak of. No. You remember now, when they give us the Bible to read, in those early days, there's nothing connection to Africa, Is Rastaman now come read the Bible and begin to find connections between the Bible and Africa itself. There's no European who will tell us anything about Africa. And the first place we see Africa mentioned in the King James Bible was in the first book. So then put Africa in the Genesis. They mention Ethiopia in the Genesis. They mention Egypt in the Genesis. And in the last book now, which is the Revelations, there's an attempt now to speak about Africa in a very different way. And Rastaman found Africa in tracing the lineage of the Jesus, the Davidic line. And that line took Rastaman to the dynasty and the rulership of Solomon, the king. So we're finding some historical characters now that eventually we're going to have to investigate. Were they real? Were they fact? Are they fictional? So we want to check out whether this Solomon was a real man. And did SHEBA really and truly have a son named Menelik the First? And did Menelik also have a son? And is Haile Selassie anywhere in that lineage? Yeah, we'll come again.
For complete auto repairs and services, come to Akon Auto Technology, located at 33 Bumble Crescent, Port Antonio, Jamaica. We offer specialist services in wheel alignment and wheel balancing, brake drum and disc rotary servicing, state-of-the-art ultrasonic cleaning and testing of your fuel injectors. We also stock an assorted range of auto service parts, tires, and motorcraft batteries. If we don't have it, we will source it for you. Call us at 876-715-5205 or email AkonAutoTech16@gmail.com. Akon Auto Technology, beyond the typical auto mechanic shop.
Do you have or are you seeking a place to rent, seeking employment or have a job vacancy? Are you selling a car or having a garage sale? Then come see us. Let Styles do the advertising for you and you'll be on your way in no time. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Advertising Style. Advertise with Styles.
Are you sick of living an average life and tired of just getting by?
Do you want to take your life to the next level? Learn the secrets of the super successful. Listen to Power in a Half Hour with Coach Mark this and every Wednesday night on StylzFM from 9 to 10 p.m. Learn the habits of the super successful and how to make these habits work for you. Learn to turn your dreams and desires into reality.
You can win in the game of life.
Let Coach Mark show you how. Every Wednesday night on StylzFM from 9 to 10 p.m.
This feeling is taking over me. I'm so excited.
Feel the euphoria.
Tuesdays from 5 to 9 p.m. with the Master Mixer Musical Maestro Digital T.
Giving a total satisfaction with melodies and memories by the score. With the widest selection of genres and hits. So you don't know the program you turn up, So you know Patek's a full dance, the one you slap with.
Digital and we are party. Yeah, we flawless. Euphoria the program. Every Tuesday.
5 to 9. Every Tuesday.
With the Musical Maestro Digital T.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Blak. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill, they offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
Thereof now, gave man his love, and they rewarded with violence. In these last days, lend ears to what I say. Man in his ignorant state, signed and sealed his own fate. Doctrines of the falling angel, no water, quench eternal flames of hell. Hellfire, I said doctrines of the falling angel, no water to quench eternal flames of hell. Hellfire, earth crisis, earth crisis, all this suffering, earth crisis, earth crisis. Misguided people don't seem to care. Carry the symbol of the eagle and the bear. Across the globe, far east to far west, high tax and cutbacks for military defense. I say doctrines of the falling angel, no water, quench eternal flames of hell. Hellfire, I say doctrines of the falling angel, no water to quench eternal flames of hell. Hellfire, earth crisis, earth crisis.
Yeah, the crisis of the earth is getting more intense. That is Steel Pulse telling us that years ago, and the crisis is intensifying. So as the crisis intensifies, people panic, and in that panic now, everybody running now to find solutions and see if them can find where in this book them can find the signs and things that point to what's happening in the future. And everybody in this big uproar. So it's Revelations, everybody run to know. Everybody run to Revelations now and go and put them intellectual and spiritual eye and all kind of eyes. But in the book of Revelations now, as I said, written by an insane man in the 2nd century, as an individual sitting right here, him can direct my future. Not as a Rasta man, not as an African. No madman and no island can predict what's going to happen to I and my whole race of people how many 100 years later. I mean, another one day. But here it go. Revelations 5. Revelations chapter 5, verses 5. And I quote, "And one of the elders said to me, Weep no more. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has conquered, so that he can open the scroll and its 7 seals." So right away now, I'm sure you in the interpretation bag now, because we have to find out now what are these 7 seals and who is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. That is the root of David. This is the same Bible David now, Now, Revelations 5, 1 to 14, it tells you in a nutshell. It says, "Then I saw in the right hand of him who was seated on the throne a scroll written within and on the back, sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, Who is worthy to open the scroll and break its seals? And no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth was able to open the scroll or to look into it. And I began to weep loudly, because no one was found worthy to open the scroll. And one of the elders said to me, "Weep no more. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has conquered, so he can open the scroll and its 7 seals." Now, these phrases, these few lines I've just read, have become linchpin in plenty of people's ways of trying to interpret what the book of Revelation is saying. Because it's speaking about a judgment. And there's a need for the Lion of Judah to return and to break the 7 seals and to set the people free. Now we hear about the Lion of Judah, not only in Revelations, we hear about the Lion of Judah first in the book of Genesis. And in the book of Genesis, Genesis 49 tells you that Judah is a lion's cub. And if you check it out, Genesis also tells that the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff between his feet, until tributes come to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the peoples. Now, this Lion of Judah concept now, it's in Hebrews, it's in Daniel, it's in Isaiah, it's in Job, it's in Genesis. It's all over the Mandem book. But listen to this now, in the Genesis 49. Jacob. Then Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you what may happen in the days to come." So Jacob now becomes the key figure in trying to understand this Judah concept. Who was Jacob? And so you have to begin to know to get into what the man them call them genealogy, them Bible genealogy. And it takes a bit of research and rereading to liberate our own ignorance and to become more conscious of really and truly know what is the meaning of the Lion of Judah. Who is Jacob? And ultimately, we might come to the conclusion that we have to define whether these stories are factual or fiction. So we're working out, first of all, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Because it's a symbol, And I said the symbol is found in both the books of Genesis and Revelation. In the Genesis, Jacob now blessed his son Judah. Judah was the 4th son of Jacob. Jacob blessed his son and called him the future and called him a lion cub. And then in Revelations now, the symbol is seen as the Lion of the tribe of Judah who will open the 7 seals. Now, according to John the Baptist, the Lion of Judah is Jesus. According to the titles given to Rastafari upon the coronation, Haile Selassie is the Lion of Judah of the tribe of, is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So it's two positions now I'm going to put out. I remember is really the next program we're going to flesh this out. We see where in the same Bible, John speaks about the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And he speaks about him as the returned Messiah, is the Jesus of Nazareth. And Rastafari, in his interpretation, recognize that the titles given to Rastafari at the coronation in 1930 that transformed Rastafari to Haile Selassie, which means the power of the Trinity. It is that title that gives Haile Selassie prominence as the Lion of Judah. And so Rastaman expects that it is the Lion of Judah, as the Bible says, that will open the 7 seals and loosen everything thereof. The Negro Christians, reading the same book, arriving at a different interpretation. And in their interpretation, the Jesus of Nazareth is that Lion of Judah, who has not come yet. So what you really find out is that the Negro Christian world is waiting on the Jesus of Nazareth for the second coming. And it would appear that Rastafari have gone way ahead of those Christians and have recognized that the Lion of Judah has come already in the personality of His Imperial Majesty. But the story don't stop there, because we have to investigate Judah. Judah is suspect. Not only Judah suspect, his father Jacob needs a thorough investigation. Because Jacob go on with some whole heap of foolishness, you know. Yeah man, Jacob go on with a whole heap of scamming. But it is Jacob who was given the name Israel. And Jacob had these 12 sons. That Rastaman now have incorporated these 12 sons now into a zodiac. Yet, Jacob had a daughter. Daughter name was Dinah, D-I-N-A-H. But she get leave out of the zodiac. So if we really follow the original construct of the calendar of 13 months, then Dinah would have to also be in the zodiac. But sexism, leave out the woman as usual. The European concept of woman is that of an inferior being. And so Israel leaves out Dinah and ends up with Reuben and Simeon, Levi and Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph and Benjamin. And the only daughter mentioned is left out. These are the 12 sons now who become the foundation of the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, black man, stop a minute and check yourself. Where is the Akan people? Where is the Ibu people? Where is the Mandingo? Where are the Swahili people? Where are those African nations or tribes? Why we are here battling to fit into these 12 tribes of Israel. So I'm going to bring the thing to a level of inquiry. Because the same Genesis Bible tells you that Jacob, it's deception Jacob used, backed up by his mother Rebecca, to trick his blind father and to get the inheritance of his brother Esau. So I don't know how Rastafari, in his blackness, can overlook the reality that millions and millions of black people are not a part of these tribes. That Africans have their anciency long before Jacob even come into existence. And for us to fall in line behind Jacob and his sons is a disrespect to the ancient African cultures and nations that we know. West Africa, Southern Africa, Central, North, East. Millions and millions of African people. And they are, what we're getting now is that we are being forced to be locked into these 12 tribes. And there's more deception to it. than the deception of Jacob. And we have to be careful now because we know the story. Or one was put into a hairy skin because the father was blind and robbed him brother of him birthright. Now, how can black people associate themselves with them kind of deception here? How can we be hugging up Hebrew philosophy and Hebrew history? How can we be glorifying Abraham and Sarah and all these people? And we're leaving out the culture and the history of Mansa Musa, of the Dogon people, of the Vadoma people of South Africa. There are too many millions of Africans that are being left out of this revelation scripture that we have to stop and check. We have to revisit this 12 tribes of Israel concept. We have to revisit Israel. We have to revisit Jacob. We have to revisit the whole Hebrew story, the Hebrew history. And as African people now, as black people, we have to recognize and decide whether we're going to keep ourselves attached to Hebrew history or we're going to liberate ourselves from those mythologies and those fables and begin to connect ourselves into black history, into African history. The world, as we are being told, is ending, and it's being justified by a book called Revelations, written by a man who was imprisoned and insane on the island of Patmos in the 2nd century. We must decide, do we connect ourselves continuously to that myth of the end, or do we focus on the now and recovering our own history, our own culture? Remember, is next strong, we're going to delve into it, into greater depths. This is introduction. Metamorphosis kind of winding out and running out. I just say we're almost approaching the midnight hour. I just want to read one more comment from a sister on the Facebook page about the football again. She said, as much as I detest the Jews, I am forced to admit that there are lessons we can learn from them. Daughter goes on to say, I am almost confident that if Hitler had assembled an all-Jewish German football team, there would not be the wild support for them that we Africans have been showing for this pseudo-French team. The Jews know how to keep their history in perspective. It's a very interesting point of view because the Jews don't forget. The Jews have not forgotten what Hitler has done to them. And I am almost sure that none of them will be jumping up and cheering for a Jewish German team. But African people, our memory is short. And we have been trained to love our enemies more than we love ourselves. We have been told to forgive and forget. And we've been told to leave all vengeance to God. So we have to pay the price for those type of philosophies. Will we ever learn? Will we ever learn? I'm not sure. Not sure. Only time will tell. Yes, only time. So, as I said, the metamorphosis almost depend the ending now. And so, for the program to come, yes, Iman now will definitely be focusing on whether Solomon and SHEBA was a reality. What makes Solomon wise? That black people, Africans in the West, having this man as a wise man. What is the point of his, what is evidence of his wisdom that the world could be marveled about? There's wisdom in Akhenaten's words, there's wisdom in Aesop. What is the wisdom of Solomon? We are a big time gallus with these 700 wives and 300 concubines. Is this the model that the Europeans want black man in the Bible who follow the Bible to follow? Where is the concept of a family structure? Where is Solomon's family structure? And then we hear that SHEBA went to visit Solomon, and yet I read that SHEBA went to look for Hiram Abif. Hiram Abif was Solomon's architect. And SHEBA was more impressed with the buildings that were being put up in Solomon's kingdom more than Solomon himself. Because Solomon was a pipsqueak, according to Dr. Ben Yochanan. He was like a pipsqueak king. What impressed SHEBA was the great architecture and the pyramids that were being built in Solomon's kingdom. And she wanted to know who was the builder. And she went there and she met him. His name was Hiram Abif, not Solomon. But the Europeans and the writers have black men following Solomon's life history. And that's how we get caught up now with the line of David. And we don't know what happened to SHEBA's life. Who was SHEBA connected to in ancient Egypt? Where is her lineage? Where is the lineage of the woman, the mother of the child? We're going to pursue that line too. And we may have a different conclusion when we find out what happened to SHEBA. Them don't tell we. The narrative follows Solomon as a hero. And have dunce man. I try imitate Solomon's life with no money in them pocket. And destroy black family lives by having a lot of women and children that them can't mind. And I talk about Solomon and Solomon. Idiot behavior. So that has not contributed to black family life. That has led to the destruction of black family life. With the man I walk around and talk about them have 10 youth and how much baby mother them have. And you ask them, they don't know the baby mothers, them don't know the youth, them don't know nothing. It's them called sperm donors. So we can't glorify that. We have to mash that down. But the truth in the Bible People glorify everything in the Bible. We have to be careful because the Bible story about Adam and Eve begins in incest. We have to know if that is what our tradition wants to be. We're mother and father sexing each other and just having pure sons and no daughters and yet more people born. We are going there next strong, you know. July 23rd. The Negro Christians them look towards December 25. Because them say that's when their Savior born. For Rastafari and the African world, the Savior came out in 1892. Because what Rastafari represented to Africa was salvation. Because Ethiopia represented the salvation to the whole continent as the only continent that the Europeans could not capture. And so there's great symbolism in the leadership of Ethiopia against colonial forces. And His Majesty is a political great leader that the black man them needed at that time to set up the foundation for the Organization of African Unity, to recognize the importance of politics in the same way Nkrumah recognized politics as the key. So we're going to come again next round, July 23rd, Rastafari Day, and we'll speak about how we arrive at where we are and where is the next step of Rastafari. Because I hold that Rastafari is not a destination. It's a journey, and the destination really is our blackness. We have to get there. Rastafari, no. So, Iman Blak saying, give thanks for another occasion. Either for all those who linked to the WhatsApp and the text and all the various devices. We say peace unto the item. July 23rd. We celebrate the coming into this earth of the Majesty, Rastafari.
You better not trouble.